over here, what I focus on is just getting one big task done a day, right? And then the way I think about it is over the course of a month, that's 30 big tasks that have been done. We're going to get so far. Those are 30 key steps that have been taken, right? And so if we just focus on that, um, then we should be way ahead in a month. And it's also keeping that long-term perspective in mind too as you're doing this. But the idea is that these small baby steps, they're going to compound over time, right? And that compounding effect is going to give you big returns. And I don't know exactly the um the way this is phrased or whether this math is correct, but it's something along these lines where it's like 1% better makes you 37 times better in a year. 1% better in a day makes you 37 times better in a year.
Well, if you look at any graph of a compounding return, it's insane. It's like, what is it called? Not exponential. What is it? Logarithmic, or like you see it and then like it's a little, it's a little, it's a little until it's suddenly a lot.
Yeah, it
And
hits an inflection point.
I've been reading The Slight Edge
Mhm.
by, oh, I'm sorry, I forget the author, but I've been reading that. And the second chapter is all about compounding returns and this 1% better idea. And the idea here, I mean, we're talking about building a business, right? So, like, every day it's like, what's one big task we can take care of to bring this business forward? But it also works on an individual scale for just becoming a more optimized human. Like, how can we be better versions of ourselves? And so this example he gives in the story, which is essentially to prove the point, like just read 10 pages of a self-development book every day and look how, imagine a few years from now, how much you'll have accomplished. But this story he put in this book blew my mind because when you think about, you have to actually do the math to actually see it. But basically this father gave his two sons options for an inheritance. One, they can just take $1 million right now and go. Okay. Or they can take 1 penny, but every day it's going to double. Whatever's in that basket that starts with 1 penny is going to double every day. Do you know how much money, if 1 penny doubles in 30 days, do you know how much money that turns into?
No.
Millions of
Really?
dollars. Yeah. You can't. And I did the math yesterday because I read it and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And then I was like, no way. It just can't be. And I did the math. And like, it's a little, it's a little, it's a little, until suddenly in week 4, you're at the tens of thousands of dollars mark, and
Mhm.
suddenly you're passing 1 million, 2 million, and that
Wow.
keeps doubling.
So that really drives home the point of the compounding effect, right?
Yep. And I mean, you could, yeah, sure, you can look at the graph and see it, but for me, doing that math, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's insane.
And there's also something about doing the reps, right? Where it's challenging at first, but you do enough of them and it just becomes kind of like muscle memory, right? And so that's one thing that you don't even have to think about. Uh, you don't have to put much effort, mental effort, physical effort into doing once it's kind of ingrained into your whole routine, right? And so that opens up space for you to do other things, right? And that's part of the compounding effect. Now you've become much more capable at doing a myriad of things versus having to put all your concentration and effort in just one thing, right? Eventually, you develop the skill set, and then you can move on to other things.
Hormozy had a post about this recently. He's like, when you're young, focus on getting in shape because then you can just maintain for the rest of your life and focus on other things. And I think about, like, I started getting in shape and exercising at like 13 years old, right? So for me, it's always just been there. Thanks,
Mhm.
dad. But like, imagine if you're 30 and you've never really valued exercise before because you were never introduced to it or whatever, and then you try to get in shape. Like, it's going to take a long time. Like, the older you get, the harder it is to like get in shape. So it's the same thing with, like, I journal every night, right? And I've gone through times where I didn't journal for a few years. I didn't have a notebook, and I would be like, "Oh man, I need to get back into my nightly reflections." And I just recognize how much more clear my mind can be before bed if I just spend 5 to 10 minutes writing in my little diary by my bed every night. It doesn't have to be anything substantial, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but the results are amazing. And then it clears my head for a better sleep and for a more, I guess, organized routine in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, these little incremental improvements, man, they really like can change the trajectory of your life if you just focus on that.
And you take it to a new, you take it to, so you do weekly plans, you do daily plans too. You actually write them down, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've still not been able to nail that. Maybe it's just because of, having young kids at this point, but like that's like next on my list. I've had spells where I could take, like, I've done it like for like a couple weeks, like cool, like I'm being super organized. Like The One Thing by Gary Keller, right? It's
Mhm.
like write out your goals, like your 20-year goal, and then 5 years from now, what do you need to accomplish in order to accomplish that someday goal? And then 1 year from now, what do you need to have accomplished to get to that 5-year goal? 1 month from now, what do you need to do? It's like getting so organized with your goals and what needs to happen to accomplish those goals down to the hour. Like right now, what do I need to do to follow the chain to that one day, 20 years from now goal?